I was kidnapped and on the verge of death at an abandoned industrial site, but David thought it was part of the role play. After being kidnapped, because no one paid a ransom for me, I was tortured by a group of strange men for 7 days and nights, and finally left to die at an abandoned industrial site. On the 8th day, the door to the abandoned industrial site opened, and in walked my husband, David, and his childhood friend, Brittany, ready to play a role-playing game. David was wearing a custom-made abductor outfit, while Brittany, his childhood friend, was tied to an abandoned chair inside the facility, wearing a skimpy dress. Half my face was wrapped in black tape, making my features hard to discern, but David spotted the anomaly instantly. "Brittany, doesn't that woman in the corner look like my annoying wife? Could it be? You intentionally found someone to impersonate her, to make her watch us. You little minx. You're so kinky. You really know how to play." Like a drowning person grasping at a straw, I struggled violently, kicking the chair over, and crawled to David's feet, whimpering for help, only to be kicked away by him. "What, you want a threesome? I don't have that fetish. Tonight, I'm Brittany's night alone." Brittany wrapped herself around David, her eyes glazed over. "Isn't your wife missing? Aren't you afraid this person really is her? How could it be? Emily is so high maintenance, she video calls me the whole way home, even just taking a taxi after work, afraid of being abducted. How could she be so easily kidnapped here? Speaking of which, she's really narcissistic. She should take a look at herself. Who would ever want her? Always worried about being abducted for sex, it's utterly ridiculous." The scene escalated to a climax, and the two kissed passionately. "But David, I was kidnapped here, and it was all because of you. I was barely clothed, covered in scars left by the kidnappers during those 7 days and nights. T.S. After staying in the stifling heat of the abandoned industrial site for a day and a night, many of my wounds had festered and were swollen and inflamed. More importantly, the marks the men had left on me were starting to fester and smell, utterly repulsive. I still didn't give up. My entire body was tied up tight with ropes, unable to move. I could only keep whimpering, begging David for help. David was half reclining, smoking a post-coital cigarette. Hearing the noise, he impatiently flicked the cigarette butt at me. "Stop whimpering. I didn't touch you. Horny? God, you're annoying." The cigarette butt grazed my cheek and landed on my thigh, instantly burning a charred hole in my skin. The pain made me scream, "Help me. David. I'm Emily." But my mouth was covered in black tape, my words were muffled and indistinct. David couldn't understand me at all. David looked at me curiously, clicking his tongue twice. "Brittany, where did you find a woman who looks so much like my wife? Even her voice sounds similar. You really know how to play." Just thinking about her watching us the whole time, it's incredibly stimulating. Brittany curled her lips into a smile that held an unclear meaning, fanning the air in front of her nose. "How many men has she been with? She smells awful." David wrapped his arm around Brittany, his eyes constantly scanning me up and down. If only Emily had this woman's level of promiscuity, would I need to be constantly unsatisfied and come to a desolate place like this to get off? Brittany frowned, playfully hitting David's chest. "Oh, stop it. What do you take me for? If I had known, I wouldn't have put in so much effort. In that case, why don't you hurry and find your Emily? Don't waste time, die, and then blame it on me." David lit another cigarette nonchalantly. "How is that possible? That woman, if she disappeared for a year, I'd just assume she was on a secret mission. How could she possibly fall to the point where I need to rescue her? No. I'm right here. Only you can save me. I need you to save me, David. I'm really dying." I used all my strength to drag my body towards David and Brittany, shouting, "David. I'm Emily. Hurry and save me." But as soon as I got close to Brittany, David stood up impatiently and kicked me hard in the chest. Caught off guard, I rolled several times before stopping, my chest aching dully. David's face was cold as he spoke. "Don't think you can act recklessly just because you bear some resemblance to Emily. Right now, my only princess is Brittany. If you dare harm her again, believe me, I'll disfigure you." Brittany screamed in fright and hid in David's arms. David gently comforted her, it's all right, Brittany, don't be angry. See, didn't I choose you? You were so good today, even if the real Emily were here, I wouldn't hesitate to choose you. Brittany's gaze flickered over me unintentionally, then she bit David's lip hard. So, when are you going to divorce that woman, Emily? You promised me. You said once you slept with me 100 times, you'd find a way to divorce her and marry me. David's hand paused, and he frowned. It's not like I can find Emily. I figure she knew I was going to ask for a divorce on our wedding anniversary, so she disappeared on purpose to avoid divorcing me. She actually just vanished into thin air to keep from divorcing me. I swear. I stood rooted to the spot, feeling as if a 1,000-pound rock was crushing my chest, making it hard to breathe. 7 days ago, I got a call and thought David was planning a wedding anniversary surprise. I drove out alone late at night despite the danger, just wanting to see David quickly. Unexpectedly, a suspicious car stopped me halfway, and I was knocked unconscious. When I woke up, I had been brutalized by the kidnappers for 7 days and nights. During those 7 days and nights, no one inquired about me, no one wanted to ransom me. I endured it. 7 or 8 men weighing hundreds of pounds, I endured them. But David's casual words, and I almost couldn't hold on, almost fainted. In these 8 days, my only motivation was waiting for David to come and save me. I never expected David would come, and this is what I would see. David's phone rang. He frowned and got up to answer it by the factory door. Seeing me slumped on the ground, utterly lost, Brittany was displeased. What's with the act? Don't try to scam my husband or pass on some disease to us. Save the pitiful act for when your husband comes to save you. Tears soaked the black tape, and the tape on my mouth slowly loosened. I gave a self-mocking laugh. He is my husband. My quiet murmur was low, but Brittany, who was getting ready to change clothes, heard it. She turned around, disbelief on her face, and walked towards me step by step. The closer she got, the more serious her expression became. After a moment, she tentatively raised her hand and ripped the black tape from my face. Holy hell, you're really Emily? How did you get here? Ignoring her, I gathered all my strength and yelled towards the door, David! David! Help me! I'm Emily! Brittany jumped in surprise, then slapped me hard, her fingernails digging deep into the wounds on my face. The pain silenced me instantly. She picked up the black tape from the ground, shoved it violently into my mouth, and then wrapped it tightly several more times, completely sealing off my mouth and nose. A strong sense of suffocation rose from my throat. I struggled desperately, only to receive another slap. Are you crazy? Didn't you run away from home to avoid divorcing David? Why are you always popping up, even following him here? Shut your mouth. If you dare let David know it's you, believe me, I'll make sure you die in this factory. Emily? Did I just hear Emily calling me? David walked into the factory building with a puzzled look, his eyes shifting back and forth between Brittany and me. Seeing David, Brittany immediately clung to him clingily. It's nothing. I was being kind and trying to help this woman, but she somehow heard Emily's name and is pretending to be Emily to call for you. How shameless! As Brittany spoke, she grabbed a wooden stick from the ground and swung it hard at my back. Don't you know this area is crawling with the crime syndicate? If they find out we have anything to do with Emily, we'll all be dead. David's expression also turned serious, his cold eyes piercing me. I was originally going to be generous and save you because you look like her, but I didn't expect you to be so ungrateful as to impersonate her. Don't you know Emily is a member of a secret agency? She once single-handedly infiltrated here and wiped out an entire gang hideout? How much the people here want to kill her, I don't need to tell you. Do you think pretending to be Emily will make me rush to save you? We'll just abandon you and run faster. Yes, I know. How could I not know? I once broke an arm and a leg, infiltrating here alone to dismantle the kidnapping crime syndicate, making countless enemies in this area as a result. After retiring, I not only refused to step into this area again, but I also had to report to David in real time whenever I went out, just because I was afraid of these people's revenge. I never thought that in David's eyes, all of this was just proof of me being high maintenance. And I never thought that precisely because I refused to step into this abandoned industrial site, it became the place where David carried on his affair openly with Brittany. 100 times. Brittany just said they had slept together here 100 times. They were so reckless and flaunting it, and I was completely unaware. Holding on to a last shred of hope, I knelt down, touching my head to the ground and letting all my hair fall to one side, exposing my right ear. Behind my right ear, I had a couple's tattoo with David's initials, SY. When David proposed, he begged tearfully for me to quit my life-threatening missions because they made him worry. To reassure him, I got the tattoo behind my ear after retiring, completely cutting off any possibility of being rehired. At that time, David cried like a child, hugging me and promising to treat me well for the rest of my life. I lowered my head further, prostrating myself on the ground, just hoping David would see the tattoo behind my ear and recognize who I was. But David merely glanced at it casually and sneered, begging on my knees won't help. Brittany won't agree to save you, so I won't save you. Brittany's expression instantly relaxed significantly. She glared at me and said, "You want me to save you? Wretch, maybe in your next life." All my valuables had been stolen by the kidnappers. The only thing I had left to prove who I was the tattoo behind my ear. David wasn't interested in looking, and I fell into deep despair again. Brittany was now eager to change the subject. "Oh, right, David. Who called you just now?" David sighed. "Just Emily's superiors again. Emily has been retired for ages. Why do they still care so much about our family affairs? Just as high maintenance as Emily?" Brittany probed. "Those superiors aren't easy to deal with, are they?" "What did you say?" David shrugged. "I just told them the truth. I said Emily was sulking with me and probably went back to Willow Creek Village to cool off. But those old fuddy-duddies insisted I go to her village myself to coax her back. Women are such a hassle. If I don't go, they'll keep calling and harassing me." Brittany put on a thoughtful air. "Since your superiors said to go, you should just go. After all, if you keep refusing, they might think you have something to hide." David slapped the white wall. "What do I have to hide? I'm just a guy with needs. If Emily wasn't so boring day after day, would I have to come to this awful place to get it done?" Brittany's face clearly fell. After giving me a vicious glare, she took a deep breath. "Anyway, since your superiors want us to go, we'll just go. Can I go with you? We'll personally apologize to Emily, coax her back, and have her talk to the superiors to get us a job closer to home. Then we won't have to rely on her earnings, and we can live a good life." I realized with dread that Brittany had been urging David to go back to her village not because she genuinely wanted to help David find me, but because she wanted to create a diversion. My current state was already very bad. Without food or water and no one to rescue me, I wouldn't last 3 days. My village is in the far northwest, a remote mountain village with no roads, so a round trip would take at least 5 days. Brittany's plan was to let me die here alone. That way, even if David discovered I was really dead later, it would be too late. And she could then marry David legitimately. Seeing David nod in agreement, grab his jacket, and take Brittany's hand, preparing to leave the facility, I finally used all my strength to stand up and lunged at Brittany. Brittany shrieked and fell to the ground, scratching me furiously with her long fingernails. "Emily, you're crazy. Are you trying to kill me by hitting me?" David turned around at the sound. "Who were you just yelling?" "Oh, I got her name wrong. She looks so much like Emily, I subconsciously called her Emily." Before she finished speaking, David bypassed Brittany and for the first time walked up to me, pinching my face and examining it closely. I stared at him with all my might, making continuous whimpering sounds, but due to the excessive suffocation, my voice was barely a whisper, making no sound. David looked at me with a solemn expression, raising his hand to tear off the black tape from my face. Just as David's hand was pulling off the first layer of tape, his phone rang again. David frowned as he answered the call. The voice of my former commander Miller came through. "David, who? RRY to Emily's village. We found someone in the remote mountain village who looks a lot like Emily, but she's locked herself in her bedroom and won't eat or drink. No one can get her to open the door. We're all married men, so it's not appropriate to force our way in, and her family isn't there. You're the only suitable person. Get over here quickly. David froze for a moment, then let out a long breath, a smile somehow appearing on his face. I knew it! With Emily's skills, how could anything happen to her? She's just sulking alone in her village. Brittany impatiently pushed me away from David, even giving me a hard kick, clearly gloating. You almost took advantage of the situation, what a shame, his wife is perfectly fine, you can't pull a stunt now. David watched coldly as Brittany viciously beat me. Only when Brittany stopped did he urge, all right, don't kill her. This area is too dangerous, saving her or killing her could attract unwanted attention. Anyway, since we know she's not Emily, she's nothing to us. Just leave her to die here, looks like she won't last 3 days anyway. With that, David stopped looking at me and walked away quickly. Brittany was overjoyed. She leaned down, lifted my hair, and whispered in my ear, "Goodbye, Emily. Your husband is about to be mine." Her gaze lingered on my earlobe, then she curiously yanked a vine-woven earring from my ear. My earlobe was torn in half, and blood instantly streamed down from the root of my ear, covering my tattoo, my neck stained red. I was in such pain my vision went white, but I didn't forget to hold on to that earring tightly. This isn't an earring. This looks like a ring. Could it be the wedding ring David gave you? I'm taking it. From now on, it's my wedding ring. No! Give it back to me! I shrieked, trying to snatch the ring back, but it was useless. After 8 full days of inhuman torture, I had no strength left. I could only let Brittany snatch the ring, sweeping me onto the ground like trash. Brittany looked down at me from above, a victorious smile on her face. David promised me when we were kids that if I wasn't married by the time I was 28, he would marry me. He said he would make me a ring himself. What right do you have to hold this ring? It's time for it to go back to its rightful owner. It's all because you showed up. David married you and didn't fulfill our promise. Now you're about to die, I'm just 28, and he can finally keep his promise. I'm taking this ring today. And I'm taking David. But Brittany didn't know that the ring on my ear wasn't given to me by David, but was a miniature computer containing the crime syndicate's classified intelligence. The ring David gave me, if lost, was lost. Just like David's love, if unwanted, was unwanted. I wouldn't fight to protect it. But the classified documents were the result of decades of effort from my entire team, information earned at the cost of countless comrades' lives. They couldn't fall into someone else's hands. Meanwhile, David on the other side received another message from Commander Miller, saying they had the wrong person and there was no trace of me in Willow Creek Village. I was most likely still in the city. David suddenly turned back, looking at Brittany and me struggling. He instinctively rushed over, pulled us apart, and shielded me with his body. He looked at me, tentatively. Emily? Is that you? Ignoring David's look of concern, I gasped for breath and stood up, using all my strength to grab the wooden stick by the wall and charge at Brittany. The ring was still in Brittany's hand. They couldn't leave. But the wooden stick I swung felt like limp cotton, barely affecting Brittany. David anxiously followed. Emily, is that you? Why aren't you talking? Hearing this, Brittany's eyes blazed with endless hatred, and she actually laughed. Emily, I didn't expect David to truly care about you. Well then, I'll make him kill you with his own hands. Wit. That, she suddenly grabbed me and fell backward, and we both rolled onto the ground. Before I could react, she suddenly picked up the wooden stick and smashed it violently onto her own hand. Her left hand instantly became bloody, the broken finger bone piercing through the skin, clearly visible. David finally reacted, holding Brittany heartbrokenly. Brittany, what happened? Why did you hurt yourself like this? Brittany cried hysterically. All I wanted was her ring, the ring you gave her. Was I wrong? You promised me when we were kids you'd make me a ring yourself. Why did you give it to Emily? This ring should have been mine all along. A look of confusion appeared on David's face. What ring? I never made a ring. He walked over and snatched the ring from my hand. By now, I had no strength left to fight back and lay weakly on the ground. David casually picked up the device disguised as an earring charm and examined it for a moment, then casually tossed it back onto me with a relaxed expression. This ring isn't mine, and it's not Emily's. She doesn't have a ring like this, and I never made a ring like this. Brittany, we got the wrong person. She can't be Emily. What? Brittany froze, wanting to explain something, but finally a sinister smile spread across her face, and she pointed at me. All right, David. If she's not Emily, and she beat me up like this, you kill her for me. I shook my head desperately. No, it's not like that. I just wanted to get the ring back. Brittany injured herself like this to frame me. But I was exhausted and couldn't make a sound. David walked up to me emotionlessly, pinching my face to force me to look up at him. I told you before, if you ever dared to bully Brittany again, I would disfigure you. I tightly gripped the ring, devoid of any will to live. Since my loved ones were gone in this life, and my beloved no longer loved me, living seemed to have no meaning left. I lay on the ground, letting David pour gasoline on my face and the black tape with a cold expression, then slowly lit a cigarette, pressing the cigarette but bit by bit onto my face. I won't kill you, but I'll keep my word and ruin your face. Once the skin on your face is completely burned, I'll put out the fire. What happens next, whether you live or die, is up to fate. What a pity, you have a face so similar to Emily's. If you had been a little more obedient, maybe I could have let you be Emily's stand-in. Flames burned, and I could no longer hear what David was rambling about in my ear. My face burned fiercely, I couldn't see David anymore, and I couldn't smell the foul odor on me either. My hair was burning off strand by strand. I could even hear the sound of hair breaking. I quickly became bald. My face and head hurt everywhere. I couldn't stop rolling around trying to put out the fire, but all I could hear was Brittany's wild laughter. She was laughing at my pathetic state, laughing at the happiness she was about to gain by marrying David. Suddenly, I heard a scream. It came from David's mouth. My hair was burned away, and he finally saw the tattoo behind my ear. Basins of cold water were suddenly poured over me, followed by the sensation of cloth wrapped around my head. But except for the pain, I couldn't feel anything else. David put out the fire on me, carefully calling my name near my ear. Emily, is that you? I see our tattoo. It's you, isn't it? How did you get here? Weren't you sulking at home? How did you get yourself into this state? You're so good at fighting. Who could have injured you like this? Wasn't it you, David? Brittany was still trying to make a last stand. How could it be Emily? David, you're mistaken. David held me, not even sparing Brittany a glance. I couldn't mistake her. Brittany shrieked, so what if she's Emily? She's barely alive. Her face was just burned and disfigured. She's dying, even if she is Emily, she's a cripple. Are you going back to SPE? End your life with a cripple? Besides, she's been with so many men, she's filthy. Abandon her. We didn't kidnap her anyway, no one will blame us if we leave her here. David, listen to me, come home with me. We'll get married tomorrow. Wouldn't it be better if Emily had never existed? David's tone turned cold. She's my wife. What right do you have to decide my wife's life and death? If I say she doesn't die, she doesn't die. Brittany broke down. David, that's not what you said when you were with me. You clearly said Emily was rigid and boring, and you were going to divorce her and marry me. David scoffed. You believe what a man says when his lower half is doing the thinking? I just said that to use you. Who would have thought you'd actually take it seriously, you idiot? I don't touch Emily because she saved many girls who were forced into things when she was on missions. She has trauma from that, and I don't touch her out of respect. I never thought about divorcing her. I only said those things to you because you're a worthless woman. Brittany cried and collapsed onto the ground. Fine, fine, I'm worthless. You have no idea how much I willingly sacrificed for you. In the end, all I get is you calling me worthless. You were the one who said you'd marry me when we were kids. You promised me if I wasn't married by 28, you'd marry me. I stayed single for you until 28, willing to be your mistress, just hoping you would one day remember our past, remember your promise, and turn back before it's too late. But what about you? Fine, you won't do anything, I'll try myself. I was so close to succeeding. I was so close to being able to marry you. How does Emily have such incredible luck? Why won't she just die? David leaned me against the wall, carefully using some clothing to create a soft cushion between me and the wall. He kissed my tattoo, whispering comfortingly, "Emily, the doctors will be here soon." Then, he turned around, his voice devoid of emotion. "Brittany, from what you're saying, you recognized her as Emily a long time ago? But not only did you not save her, you repeatedly deliberately harmed her, and even wanted me to kill her with my own hands." Brittany laughed maniacally. "So what? What good is pretending to be affectionate now? You still didn't recognize her all this time, you slept with me right in front of her, and then you personally burned her face off, didn't you? What right do you have to say you love her? You're the one who turned her into a cripple. Honestly, David, think about me. Even if she recovers, how can you sleep with that ugly face? Why don't you just divorce her, and we can be happy like before? Wouldn't that be better? For the 101st time, how about I wear Emily's agency uniform? If you love her status, I can play that role too. I have lots of clothes, and my figure is better than hers." Before Brittany could finish, a whole bottle of gasoline was poured into her mouth. David didn't stop. He poured the rest of the gasoline all over Brittany's hair, clothes, and every part of her body. A second before I passed out, a huge ball of fire lit up in my blurry vision. That ball of fire kept running, rolling, and finally disappeared from my sight. Bedridden for 6 months, David took meticulous care of me. Thanks to the excellent care and state-sponsored medical resources, apart from my disfigurement and loss of smell and taste, my other functions were slowly recovering. The day I could finally speak, David looked at me expectantly, cheering me on like he would a child. The first words I spoke were, "David, let's get a divorce." David froze, a look of disbelief on his face. Then he shook his head, refusing, and cried like a child by my bedside. I quietly moved my feet away, not letting him touch me. The reason I had David get the tattoo with me in the first place was to create a facade, to make people believe I wouldn't return to duty, so I see. Bold secretly gather intelligence. Therefore, I wasn't afraid of David refusing to divorce. As long as I was a member of the agency, I had the best resources. Even if it took 10 or 20 years, I would win the divorce case against David. The lawyer came the next day to handle the divorce matters. A month later, David agreed to the divorce, because if he didn't agree voluntarily, he would face multi-party sanctions. When David left, he walked away with nothing. His eyes were full of worry. "Emily, even though we're divorced, let me keep protecting you. I just can't bear to see you face danger alone." I looked at him calmly. "David, in all our years of marriage, have you ever truly protected me? The reason I wasn't hunted down again was because I intentionally got the tattoo to confuse the target. What did that have to do with you? I stayed safe because I had an extremely strong sense of security, always noting down all license plates when I went out, and staying on the phone with you to ensure my safety. I tried to rely on you once, wanting you to be my backup, but what did you do? You just kept the phone line open symbolically and continued playing your game. One time I left my phone in the car, and when I went back to get it half an hour later, you were still playing. You just said casually, 'You're back, babe. Glad you got back safe. Okay, I'm hanging up.' If my Commander Miller hadn't gotten to me in time that day, you would never have known how many attacks I faced in that half hour. You would have just impatiently made excuses not to answer my calls and complained to others that I was high maintenance. Every time I survived, it was a life I earned myself. What did that have to do with you? What right do you have to protect me?" David still lingered, insisting on doing some menial tasks. But my love had already died in that abandoned warehouse. Brittany became a vegetable. Her last words before losing consciousness were to absolve David of blame. David gained temporary freedom because of this, allowing him to take care of me. I contacted Brittany's relatives in Willow Creek Village. When they heard Brittany was injured like that, they clamored for money. A dozen or so relatives from the whole village arrived with torches. After much investigation, the relatives eventually sued David. David was sentenced to prison for intentional injury. On the day of the trial, the case was deadlocked because there was no surveillance at the abandoned industrial site. I appeared on the witness stand with the device disguised as an earring charm. The device had a camera that recorded all the footage of David and Brittany, providing conclusive evidence. After David's case was concluded, I submitted the device. Inside was intelligence on the movements of the crime syndicate's personnel over the past 10 years. In addition, the device also captured the people who kidnapped me, who were also members of that crime syndicate. However, during the network investigation, I saw an unexpected person. Brittany's name was prominently listed. When Brittany woke up, large areas of her skin were necrotic, and her face was unrecognizable. When she was interrogated, she confessed everything. To gain access to the abandoned warehouse, to have a small space just for her and David, she had actually sold herself to the boss as his secret lover. The extreme and depraved nature of their activities, I had already witnessed during those 7 days and nights. I never expected someone would willingly choose to endure such things, just to have a moment of shared space with their loved one. She was also the mastermind behind my kidnapping. She had people kidnap me, brutalize me, wanting me to lose the will to live and drive me to suicide, but she never expected I would survive for 7 days and nights. In desperation, she had her men throw me into the abandoned industrial site to watch her have their affair with the man I love. Ed, wanting to destroy my last shred of will and make me give up voluntarily. But instead, it backfired on her. I was recognized and saved by David, while she was almost killed by him. When Brittany knelt down and begged me for help, I didn't answer. It was true that she had colluded with the crime syndicate. It was true that she wanted to kill me. The device disguised as an earring charm recorded everything. I visited Brittany in prison once after she was caught. She said she had known all along that the device disguised as an earring charm was intelligence. She used David as an excuse, but her real purpose was to destroy the device. That was her boss's order. If she failed to complete the order, her fate would be the same as mine during those 7 days and nights. But while she was acting, she herself forgot. My life shouldn't have been like this. I should have married David, lived happily ever after, instead of living in fear behind those men all the time. They actually wanted me to fight you. You're a 10-year Special Forces veteran. What am I? All I have to offer is my looks. Not even the man I love is on my side. You're already strong enough. Why wouldn't he protect me, help me, instead of choosing to protect you? You don't need his protection at all. It's not fair. Brittany suddenly became hysterical. After being forcibly given a sedative, she slumped in the chair. A small knife fell from her sleeve. She gave a tragic laugh. See, Emily, this world is just that unfair. I don't even have a chance to stab you. We were never in the same league. I got up to leave. You're wrong. Strength is something you fight for yourself, not something you rely on a man for. Every night I would dream of the scenes from those 7 days and nights, waking up from nightmares. Commander Miller took me back to the unit and arranged for a psychologist and therapist for me. My symptoms gradually improved. The day I finally had my first good night's sleep, Commander Miller gave me time off for half a day as a reward. While I was picking up supplies for my fellow officers, I encountered the kidnappers again. The kidnappers all wore black masks, their faces both strange and familiar. It was the crime syndicate that had been wiped out, resurfacing for the 3rd time. My hands began to tremble uncontrollably, my legs turned weak, and I couldn't move from the spot. The trauma that had finally passed reappeared vividly before me, and my chest tightened, making it hard to breathe. The person leading them suddenly took off his mask. It was David. His eyes shining with madness. Emily, I can't live without you. Forgive me, I had no choice but to go down this path. He raised a hand, and 7 or 8 men held me tight, disarming me of all my firearms. Emily, just bear with it, it will be over soon. David, you know this was my trauma, and it still is. Are you still going to force me? David stroked my head affectionately. Emily, I've thought about it. You said I couldn't protect you because the difficulties you faced were within your ability to solve yourself. Emily, it's good that you're in pain. Pain you can't solve yourself, that's when you'll need me. Once you depend on me, need me, we'll be like before, just you and me, forever. David, I'm giving you one last chance. Are you sure you want to do this? If you want to live, let me go. David laughed. Emily, you always said I didn't care enough about you. This time, I meticulously learned your schedule. You now have 3 hours of time off. Within this time, if they don't receive an emergency distress call, your fellow officers won't show up to disturb you. And I've just confiscated all your communication devices, recording devices, and all your firearms. You have no chance to call for help, and no chance to kill me. Emily, I'm your husband. 3 hours will pass quickly. After 3 hours, we'll start over, okay? It's too late. What? I yelled the bomb at my waist and pulled the pin without hesitation. I don't have a gun, I can't kill you. But I can take you down with me. Reporting to the agency, the last remnants of the crime syndicate have been cleared.